What's up, guys? So today I want to talk about the new headlamp I've been using. This is the Through Night TH30. All right, I will reference probably throughout the video this model. The TH20 is one of my favorite headlamps just for everything: battery source, size, comfort, the whole deal. I have multiple headlamps. That's the one I use when I want a lot of light and I'm going to be wearing it for a long period of time. I do have other cheaper ones, like I have a Petzl, I have one from like Home Depot, $10, $15, $20 headlamps I use for various things. I have extras in case there's other people with me. I mean, Christina has her own as well. In fact, she has a TH20 that she uses, but that seemed to be the best one. This one came out recently, and this thing is a beast. There's a lot to talk about. I've been using it. At the end of the video, I'm going to give you a demonstration so you guys can see, what it actually looks like when it's on. It'll be first-person perspective. Because it's hands-free, I'll be able to hold the camera and film and stuff, which is easy. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely some pros and cons with this. Right off the bat, I will say that I do like it. It is probably the brightest headlamp that I know of. I don't know of any other one offhand that's brighter than this. This peaks out at 3,350 lumens, which is ridiculous. I mean, that is crazy bright, but there is a rub, all right? That 3,350 lumens only lasts about 2 minutes. Now you're like, oh man, that stinks, who wants that? Well, the full 3,350 lumens lasts 2 minutes, okay? That's a turbo mode. When you have it on turbo, which is a quick double click, you can see how crazy bright that is. During the course of the first 2 minutes this is on, it actually ramps down to about 1,050 lumens, okay? And it's something that's not noticeable. I've done this a few times just to see if I can kind of take note of it. When it's on and you're doing something, you don't know the difference. And it's slowly getting a little bit dimmer and dimmer as you're going, but it is not noticeable. I literally put this against the wall and put a timer on my cell phone, the little stopwatch feature, and just watch it. And it kind of it clicks down just a little. It almost looks like a light flash, barely noticeable, but what it's doing is it's slowly dropping that output until it hits about the 1,000 mark. And then it stays constant for about an hour and a half runtime for that, all right? Some other modes, there is a high, which is 1,275 lumens, a medium, which is 352 lumens. There's a medium low, which is unnecessary, but that's 130 lumens. Then the actual low is 25. Then, of course, Firefly, which is a half a lumen that they estimate 32 days. And as you guys know from previous testing, that is 100% accurate. In fact, it goes past their estimation. And then there's a SOS mode on here, which is interesting as well for a headlamp. This headlamp is removable. It's just these rubber straps. So you can pull this flashlight out and keep this in the pocket as a pocket light. But realistically, I don't think you'd have SOS mode. Like, let's say you really are lost somewhere and you need the SOS. I don't know why it'd be on your head, because you're probably moving around, you know what I mean? The only time I can see this being really beneficial is if you are stranded in your car in the middle of nowhere. You can put this on your trunk or something, just keep SOS going, and just have it facing towards any kind of civilization, any traffic, any people, if you really are that desperate, you need some help. But yeah, otherwise SOS in any flashlight to me is useless unless you're trekking out in the woods somewhere and you might need something like that. But again, walking around normal everyday life, you won't need SOS mode for anything. I prefer a strobe, to be honest. But anyway, yeah, so this thing is removable from the headband strap if you wanted to take it out. Quick accessories. All right, charging cable. And what makes this really cool too is there's a charging port right in the side there, which I did use because when you get these, they are not fully charged. Also, let's see for accessories real quick here. You do get a separate rubber strap. It's the same one, all right? It's just a spare. So for some reason, it tears or something, you do have a spare. That's actually really cool. Most headlamps do not come with spare parts like that. You do get a pocket clip if you do decide to take this off of the headband option. So like for some people, again, being a gearhead, having a go bag, stuff like that, if you're one of those type people, you might want to carry this as a pocket light and then just keep the headband in your bag, in your car, what have you. So you can take your EDC light and now you have a headlamp. So it's a 2-for-1, which is pretty cool. But you do get the pocket clip for that. You do get a spare rubber cap for the charging port. Again, in case that tears or rips, that's pretty cool. A lot of spare parts. And then the O-rings. All right, let me show you the paperwork real quick, which might have some more details on the specs, so I don't have to talk about them. You just pause. Always makes things easy. Two different languages here, and I think that's English right there. And you could pause right there and see the whole rundown on that. So, more on to the actual light here. A couple things I noticed. First thing I do with these, obviously, is adjust the straps. You can adjust the top strap as well as the side strap to fit your head. So this is my adjustment, which was most comfortable. The first thing I did notice, however, in wearing this is that, you know, when this band is, you know, it's not like, obviously it's around my head, but when you put pressure on the sides, it lifts the rubber tabs here. All right, and I did feel this on the forehead, like the corners of these tabs, they're not sharp or anything, it's rubber. But if, you know, I've only had this on for maybe 10 minutes at most and doing some different testing and just kind of playing around with it. If I had this on for an hour or 2 hours, that would get a little annoying. It would leave little red marks on your head. For some reason, that TH30, I never had that issue. I really don't know why. It's the same strap. The only thing I can imagine is because it's a much heavier light. All right, it's physically larger, it's heavier, it takes a bigger battery. But for some reason, I felt that. Never had an issue with the TH30. Also, if you note, because this is a removable headlamp, the light is offset. It's to the side. So obviously with the middle strap, you're gonna have this on your head like this, and the light source is offset. Now, I've only used this in most of the higher modes. I haven't gone around in the Firefly or even the low or medium low. So I did not notice a difference because it's so darn bright. You don't know where it's just coming from your head, you know what I'm saying? This one I just you know, when I first got it, off the top of my head, I just assumed that this one would be better because it's centered. You know, it's centered to your forehead. Makes sense, right? But it didn't seem to make a difference whatsoever. I will use this a little bit more in the future on the lower modes, but I really don't have a need for that. The lower modes I think are better suited as a pocket light as opposed to a headlamp. Unless you're like super close up against something and you don't want all that extra reflection back. It was a non-issue basically. In all the higher modes you just can't tell that it's off-centered as opposed to being centered. As far as the battery source, again you saw it is rechargeable. This does take a single 18650. 3100 milliamp hour through night branded one was included. All right, so it did come with the light. And what's really cool about this, which I haven't seen on any of the other models, is there's a power indicator in the button. All right, so obviously blue is good when you first get this. Mine was blue and then it immediately turned red. All right, so that when you're losing your battery power in there, that will illuminate red. All right, so if you're gonna do a project for an extended period of time or something, you can check that. I mean, you can keep taking it off to look at it, but when you first turn it on, if it goes red, you know you're not gonna be good, you know, for a long project. All right, so that was really cool. As far as, you know, the user interface or UI, very straightforward, just like a lot of other through nights. Hold it down to get to your Firefly mode. All right, and turning it on, whatever mode it's on, if you double click, right, 1, 2, that goes automatically to the turbo. All right, in turbo mode, it does get hot. All right, it's something I noticed right away. There are some fins cut into here. That is for heat dispersion. Okay, it's supposed to be a heat sink. The actual headlamp, the body and stuff, that's fine. And you do not feel any of the heat when it's on your head. But the head of the flashlight gets very hot. It gets uncomfortable to the touch. Okay, and that's after about 5 or 6 minutes. Again, those first 2 minutes being that full turbo, and then, you know, kind of ramping down ever so slightly to that 1000+ lumens. So what I'm saying is when you're using this, because this actuation button, you know, the on-off button or switch is on the head, just be careful. All right. I have no problem, you know, even when it's hot like that, you know, you just push the button to turn it off or whatever. But I'm saying if you just go ahead and grab this, I mean, it's not going to burn you. It doesn't get that hot. But if you're holding it, it would get hot. So vice versa, if this is your EDC pocket light, having an angled head like this, I'm not sure how you would hold it. Most people would probably hold it like this, right? You shine it where you need to, almost like a little mace or something, pepper spray. But that's how I would assume you would hold that. And if you are using it in the hands, in turbo mode, or possibly even the high mode for an extended period of time, it does get uncomfortably hot. All right, so that's an important note. As far as being a headlamp, I mean, both styles, I do like this style just because of the fact that you can just rotate it. It's just so simple. You can rotate it 360 degrees, which is awesome. This is no different. All right, so you can get whatever angle you want. Again, I've talked about this before, but with headlamps, I love pointing it straight up when I'm indoors, especially if you have higher lumen outputs. It'll just light up a whole room, and it follows you everywhere you go. So you're hands-free, and you have an overhead light everywhere you go. All right, even in my house, I have vaulted ceilings, which are higher. I think it's 11 foot or 12 foot in my living room area. And even then, you know, with something that's 500 plus lumens, it bounces off the ceiling everywhere I go. All right, especially if you go into a normal room where it's 8 foot ceilings, then, you know, the light is bouncing off the ceiling and it's basically just illuminating the entire room. It's perfect for when the power goes out and you have to go, you know, to the bathroom or something like that. It just follows you everywhere you go. It's hands-free. It's perfect. So that's what I really, really love headlamps for. But, you know, the obvious, if you're taking a walk and it's dusk or it's getting dark out, if you lost something outside and it's starting to get dark, it's easy to find. You know, there's a bunch of reasons why you may or may not use a headlamp as opposed to holding a flashlight. The hands-free part is obviously the biggest attribute, I would say, to a headlamp. All right, on to the important part. How much, right? Everyone wants to know how much. Because that's all that matters, right? It could be the coolest thing in the world, but if it ain't $5, I got to think about this. This one is not cheap. This one comes in at $80. $80 for a headlamp is definitely expensive. This is currently, if not the brightest headlamp on the market, it's got to be close. I mean, if you guys know of a brighter headlamp, you know, different brand, different model, please comment down below. I'd be curious to find out because I haven't seen anything this bright in a headlamp, you know, format. Pros and cons, I would say it is heavier. Again, having this on for 10 minutes, I did feel the rubber strap a little bit, pushing on my forehead. The weight on the forehead, once you adjust the strap properly, the extra weight of the light doesn't matter. That's really not a concern at all. It's just that extra heat. You don't feel it on your head or anything. It's just more so if you're going to be holding it. $80, it's a lot of money for a headlamp. I mean, I can only justify this if you're using it all the time. If you use something like this for work, you know, or if you just, I mean, for the guy who just wants one in his backpack for being prepared, you don't necessarily have to get an $80 headlamp. You can get a $20 one, some spare batteries, you know. But this might be something to consider if you do use a headlamp more frequently. If you find you're using it all the time, if you're an avid outdoorsman and you're always out, you know, camping, it's getting dark out, this might be a better option for you just because it has more features and it does offer that much more light. So that's what I would assume this would appeal to, is flashaholics and people who are really, really into the outdoor stuff, where you're going to spend a little bit more money on something like this. You're going to put more money and invest more into your gear than the average person. That's where this kind of shines, no pun intended. All right, so I'm outside now to do a little demo with this headlamp. Coincidentally, I have to take the trash out, so 2 birds, 1 stone, right? Anyway, you can still faintly see the car back there, and right here is like the front little garden area, if you will. So let's put this on the turbo mode. You can see just how bright this thing is. It's absolutely ridiculous. And let's take a little walk. This thing is crazy bright. I'm not used to seeing like a headlamp this bright. It's usually, you know, fat old, you know, handheld lights. But that is the side of the yard. If I turn this up a little bit, you can see more into the woods. Rotate it down. I mean, this area, it's got to be at least, I don't know, 20 or 30 feet wide as far as the spread. And it's just a wall of light. I mean, there's natural throw because how bright it is, but it's all flood. I mean, it's a total area light. All right, so let's cycle through the modes here. Right here is the low. If I pan down, you can kind of see that. But it's not putting enough out to really see the yard. Next would be the medium low. All right. Let's see. This is the medium, I guess. And then the high. Pan around a little bit. All right, and then obviously double tap for the turbo. All right. And it's got just awesome range. You can see even right here, I'm probably, I don't know, 6 or 7 feet away from the trees, and it's just blasting light right back at me. I mean, this tree is probably 2 feet in front of me, and it's almost too bright. So here's the shed. And some garbage cans, which I have to bring to the curb. So you take a walk with me. It's nice that it's hands-free. Obviously I'm holding a camera. Can out. See down the road here. Awesome. Up to the trees. Alright, so I'm back to the starting point here, and it's been about 2 minutes or so. And I don't know if you guys can tell, you can probably reference the beginning of the demo here, but it's dropped down to that 1050 lumen output. All right, you could tell just because we have a reference, but like, while I was moving around, I could not see it ramping down. It just slowly, got a little bit dimmer and dimmer until we're at the point we are now. So, and if I shut it off, turn it back on, you could probably see the difference. So now we're back to that 3000 plus output. So pretty interesting. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. There's the demo. Look up into the trees again. It's quite impressive for a headlamp. All right, so before I go, I'm going to give you this shot of the front, just because this is a shot I've used in dozens and dozens of different flashlight reviews, so it gives a good reference to a lot of older videos. This is in front of the house, pointed over at the bench that's out there. So if I just pan a little bit, I mean, just a heck of a light. Again, that whopping, whatever it is, 3350 lumens. It's only really for the first minute and a half to 2 minutes. It's actually the first probably 30 to 40 seconds, and then it already starts to slowly ramp. And you can't tell, even if you're just standing here looking, it's going to be very, very difficult to see the transition. But if you start at one point, and turn the light on and just, shut it off and turn it back on after a couple minutes, you might be able to tell how it's dropped to almost a third of its original, output. But even at 1000 plus lumens, as I sit here rambling on, it's going down and down. It's still plenty of light. All right, especially for headlamp applications. So that is it. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys have an awesome day, and I'll see you soon. Take care.